right, DeDe will be giving a speech from the Effective Coaching Path. The first project in Level 2 is to understand your leadership style. This project shows up on many paths, so maybe you've heard of this topic. Maybe you've already done this project. One of the best parts of Toastmasters is to see how different people put their mark on similar topics. Please welcome DeDe to the virtual lectern with her speech titled, "What's Your Style?"
8 of the various pathways have a required project in level 2 about understanding your leadership style. You answer a few questions on a quiz, and then you get a score in 8 various leadership categories. Here are my results in a lovely little tree map. The bigger boxes mean I got a higher score in that particular style. However, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I'm not going to talk about these leadership styles. You've probably heard about them before. Instead, I'm going to tell you about a leadership model that was created by Paul Hersey and Ken Blanchard way back in the 60s. I first learned about it at a training seminar that I went to years ago. And it is something that always just stuck with me, so I wanted to share it with you. This is the situational leadership model. I do love a good infographic. Don't worry about trying to see all the details on this screen because we're going to take a closer look. The idea behind this particular model is that a different leadership style is needed for every different individual, for every different task or situation that that individual takes on. And this model has 2 different types of behavior. It has directive, which goes along the bottom, and directive behavior is where a leader gives very detailed steps of how to do something. It's like do step 1, 2, and 3. And then going vertical, we have supportive behaviors. The supportive is the more kind of touchy-feely, you can do it, encouragement type of behavior. So now we're going to take a look at each of these 4 quadrants, and we'll kind of walk through that path, starting with the red square. This is where we all are when we start something new. This quadrant is known as the enthusiastic beginner. Think about when you first signed up for Toastmasters. You were probably excited, but you didn't know how to do anything. You didn't know what to expect, but it's all shiny and new and thrilling. At this point, you don't need those supportive behaviors because your commitment and your excitement, it's already really high. But you probably needed a lot of directive behaviors. You need to know where to go to log in to access pathways. What are meeting roles? You have no idea what's going on. So if you're leading somebody in this stage, they really need to just know the how-tos, the technical stuff. And knowing those is going to help them move along to that next path. So now we're heading up to the next quadrant. At this point, that shiny and new kind of starts to wear off a little bit. And that commitment and excitement that started out really high, it plummets. And you know you're in this stage when you find yourself wondering, what did I get myself into? We've all had that moment. And this is known as the disillusioned learner. That disillusioned learner needs coaching. The person in this quadrant, they still need those high directive behaviors because they're still learning. They might be making mistakes or they might get overwhelmed. And that's why they also need that high supportive behavior. They need reassurance, praise, maybe some goals, but they still need those how-to instructions that's going to keep them going into that next level. This is where we find that capable but cautious performer. They're capable because by this point, they already know the technical stuff. They know how to access pathways, they know what the meeting roles are, and they even know how to sign up for a meeting role. They know what they're doing. However, that shiny new widget that was all exciting, it's starting to get rusty. Other things might be pulling for their attention, or maybe they're facing different obstacles. This person, they don't need those directive behaviors anymore because they know what they're doing. But as a leader, now you really need to be supporting them and helping them overcome any of those obstacles so that they can move on to that next stage. And this is where we all want to strive for with every task or challenge that we take on. This is the self-reliant achiever. Of the self-reliant achiever can delegate. They don't need to provide instructions. They don't need to work through all of that emotional support because this person, they've got a goal and they're working towards it. But as a leader, you don't want to just forget about this person just because they happen to be cruising along this path. This might be a great opportunity for them to get a new challenge. And when they get that new challenge or that new task, then they start right back in that red square. And this whole cycle can repeat over and over with every new task that that person takes on. And you can't even find that somebody might slide backwards. So as a leader, you actually need to be able to recognize where somebody is on this path and what they need in order to move them to get onto that green square, that self-reliant achiever. And you have to change your style simply depending on the situation. And kind of continuing on with my Toastmasters example, where do you think you are on this path? What do you need to get moving towards that green square and become that self-reliant achiever? And if you think you're already in that green square and you're like, yeah, I'm good, I've got this handled, maybe it's time for a new challenge. And with that new challenge, you get the excitement of being an enthusiastic beginner again. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests.